Hi, Christopher. Thanks for having us.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, absolutely. Good to
Good.
see you, Brian.
hmm So how's it going?
It's good. It's good. Well, we already have people joining, so I'm going to jump in with just a little bit of what the show's about, and then we'll start our little conversation. So, for everybody that's joining, this is Our Stories Live, and this is a biweekly interview show that I interview people that are celebrating what makes them different just by being themselves. So, it's a brief glimpse into their life, into their story. And today I have Jen and Brian Parker with me. And I also want to say that even though it's almost the end of May, but it's also ALS Awareness Month, which I thought was a perfect timing to have both of you on. And also, I've been following along with your journey and adventure for quite a long time now. I know that Jen and I have been chatting for such a long time, so I'm so excited that you both are here. And I think I just want to jump in if that's okay with you.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. So I'm going to say a little bit about you, Jen, that I know. So I believe that you're a full-time caregiver to you, Brian. And of course, Brian, you have ALS that we know. I think, Jen, I've never seen you say this title, but I kind of sense it, that you're an ALS awareness advocate because you've been sharing so much of it.
I try to be. I'd like to be better about it. I focused on it this month, but I definitely want to do more. Sometimes it's hard to share the real stuff, like the raw stuff day to day, but people really respond to that. So I've just sort of found that to be informative, and I connect with people that way. So I wouldn't call myself that yet, but I'm hoping to be that, yes.
So maybe like it's aspirational. Well, I think I totally hear that. I think from my end, like you've actually been really my window into understanding ALS a lot more, especially over the last like probably 2 years. So I understand that. So the one other thing I want to mention about you is that you also created the Strength of Love brand, which is an online store, and it's also a blog to share a lot of your guys' stories. And within the story, there's obviously artwork that's for sale and for gifts. So maybe we can set the stage of what is ALS?
So ALS stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It is a degenerative neurological disease which affects the neurons. So basically the signals that are going from the brain to the muscles, they die. And so you lose all voluntary muscle function. So it will slowly take your ability to walk and then talk and then eat and then breathe. So it just keeps getting worse. And the weird thing about ALS is the prognosis is 2 to 5 years. That's what most people are given. The majority of people do pass within that time, but a lot of people, 10% are living 10 years or longer. So it's a lot to manage, as you can see, and just a lot that goes along with it to keep them going and keep their quality of life high.
Right. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the 2 to 5 years because I had read that as well. And I know that, and I believe this is correct, that Brian, you were diagnosed in 2011.
Correct.
Is that correct? Yeah. So
and just for your
I'm
reference,
curious.
just for your reference, Brian blinks once for yes and twice for no. So,
okay, great. So when Brian, when you were diagnosed, I'm wondering, maybe Jen, what changed for the both of you at that time?
Just upon hearing the diagnosis, you mean?
Or even just at that start, like what started to change for you in your life?
To really kind of clue us into that's what was going on, you mean?
Yeah.
So Brian had told me, he was having trouble gripping things. Brian's an audio engineer by trade. He's a producer, and he did like big audio visual installations. So he works with his hands a lot, or worked with his hands a lot. And he told me, I'm having trouble gripping my tools. Something doesn't feel right. And he was stumbling a lot, like tripping a lot. And then when he couldn't tie his shoes, He went to the doctor and they said, you know, we don't know. We're going to send you to a neurologist. But he started doing online research and he came to me and said, I'm pretty sure it's ALS. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And I certainly not, you know, and it was. So it just became at that point already before we knew what it was me starting to help Brian with things like holding a fork and tying his shoes and things like that.
And then from that point though, like not the progress per much, but like I'm wondering from that point, when did you move into more of a caregiver role, or that life really started to evolve so differently for where you are today?
It really didn't change that significantly until it has become more and more so. In the beginning, it was, you know, you stay home and I will prepare some food for you to be able to eat throughout the day. And then, then it became to where Brian's parents moved in with us because I couldn't go to work and leave him safely at home because he would fall or we just didn't know, you know, he just wasn't able to be on his own. So Brian's parents moved in. And I was still trying to, you know, have my career and just try to focus on that as well. So, I mean, the caregiver role, it started from the beginning of the symptoms, basically, and has evolved to where it's been more and more and more time to then being to a point where I have to leave my job to do this full time.
I worked for almost a year after I was diagnosed.
Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
He was able
to
go to work. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, I was going to ask this question for you, Jen, but I think this question is really for both of you. Is because Jen, you were in a full-time career before, and so you just had mentioned like you had left this career, you know, to move into this full-time caregiver role. I'm wondering what kind of difficulties that was for you to make that kind of transition to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do now.
It wasn't a choice, to be honest with you. And I honestly never saw myself as a caregiver. That's not a role I wouldn't want to be a nurse. You know, it's not really kind of in my nature to feel that way naturally. Yeah. So I wanted to stay working and try to pay for care for Brian. That was kind of the goal. But then the benefits at my company changed and we lost all of our home care basically. And when I crunched the numbers, I wasn't going to be able to work and pay for it. So I made the decision to leave. So it was kind of a forced decision, to be honest. I feel I'm better at working than being a caregiver, but since I've left my job, I've definitely tried to accept it and embrace it and just adapt to what the day is going to be.
And how long has this been now that you've been that you left your job to do this? Yeah,
I only left my job last March, so it's only been over a year.
Okay. So that's, yeah, I mean, it's not new, but it hasn't been a long time for it.
Right.
Okay. When did you start the Strength of Love brand?
So I wanted to do a vlog and talk about it and just raise awareness and try to be real with people about what it's like for us, what our life is like. So when the Ice Bucket Challenge came out in 2014, I decided, I don't know, just something was like, okay, I'm gonna start writing about this and just sharing more specifically about ALS. And we just couldn't think of a name. So I actually asked several of our friends and someone came up with Strength of Love and everybody loved it. And it really works on so many levels in so many ways, you know?
Yeah. I was going to actually ask, like, what did it mean? Like, how did you choose that? Because it's an interesting name because it's not associated to the ALS, you know, kind of nomenclature at all, which I actually kind of liked.
Right. And I loved that too. And we just connect with so many people in difficult situations that talk to us about how love, whether it's a friendship or a spouse, you know, a marriage, how love really does make you stronger than you think you can be.
Yeah. So did the blog start first and then you moved into a store?
Yes. The blog started, we didn't really, Well, I do photography. I like to take pictures. I always have. So I kept telling myself I'm going to sell photography. I'm going to sell photography. So I opened an Etsy shop and just learned about that a little bit. And then one day Brian sent me an email with a picture that he had made with his eyes on his computer. And I was like, what is this? And then he was sending like several to me. I'm like, what have you been doing this? And he just said, I love it. It keeps me busy. It keeps me from being bored. It's that creative outlet that he used to have with music. So, and then people went crazy for the art. So, and said, you should sell it on your shop. So then I focused on Brian's art because it's so inspiring.
Okay, well, let's take a step back too. Can you actually describe what, and this could be for either of you or both of you, the eye gaze art, like what exactly is it?
The eye gaze art?
Yeah. What's
the art? So it's just pieces of art, pictures. There's one right back here, that orange one. You can't really tell, but it's just it's sometimes abstract, sometimes an animal, a bird or something. But Brian uses his eyes there's an eye gaze thing here that he calibrates with his eyes, and he uses that to control. He's using a program I think called Paint now. But he uses his eyes to make paintings or make art. So again,
that's amazing.
It is amazing. It's so amazing. And when you watch him do it, we could do it so fast, with a mouse and our hands, but he's just clicking, and it's amazing.
It's interesting too, because I've seen kind of like this evolution of pieces of art that you created, Brian, because, Jen shares it a lot. And so I've been watching for so long, and Jen, you've sent me some stuff as well. So I'm wondering, Brian, like when you first started learning that, like, do you feel like you've gotten a lot better at that, or like adapted to create more stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's what I thought, because it seems a little bit like it's almost like it's become more sophisticated but complicated. I saw some recent stuff. I'm like, really? I was pretty surprised by like you really getting into it.
It's amazing. And he learns different programs. He tries different programs, and he does get faster and faster and faster. There are moments where he's just shaking in his chair because he's so frustrated, It's just because some days the calibration just doesn't work very well.
Oh. Yeah, that must be very frustrating, just not being able to actually have that outlet. Well, with the strength of love, what I've noticed is, so Brian, you're doing the eye gaze art, and then Jen, you have your photography on there, and now there's also mugs and gifts and things. And so I couldn't help but notice, okay, so you've transitioned to this full-time caregiver role. Brian, you're doing this art, and you kind of evolved it into this sort of that's why I call it a brand, because it's really turned into something unique and special. And have you found as you're growing that it's turned that into or something new for you as well?
Yes. My background, I did finance for so long, and that, numbers and presentations, that's sort of my bag. But now I'm just learning to do it on my own. I'm learning how to build a website. We're learning how to do things together, work as a team, which is really weird. We've never really worked together. So learning how to, we have meetings and we divide up tasks. And so we're learning we really want to be self-sufficient. Right now, we really do rely a lot on other people, both financially and for errands and different things. We want to be self-sufficient, and we want to, spread the love and help other people be strong when they're going through something hard.
So is that kind of the goal of the online store, is to create that financial freedom and that self-efficiency so you can do this and support life?
Yes. We would love to, be self-made and self-sufficient and be successful and just grow it. And
how important is it for the two of you to also share your stories currently? Because I know originally you started that with the Strength of Love brand, but is it important to still continue to do that, or to share more about ALS, or a dynamic between a wife and a husband?
we've talked about it. I'm more open than Brian, so he doesn't always like to share some of those details. But like I said, and I'm sure you know this to be true too, when you're more vulnerable with people, they will open up as well. And it just feels like a more authentic and real connection. And people really appreciate that. You know, there's just the whole Instagram versus reality thing, and we're all kind of living that way. So when you see something real, you appreciate it. So I think I would like to do it a little bit more. Getting Brian to share some of those details is a little harder.
Well, you know, I understand both sides of that.
Right?
Because I feel like I live in the middle, you know, like
Right.
or a little bit of old school. I want to control some of that story. You
Right.
know?
Right.
Right. Right. Like Jen, you and I had a conversation offline, right? And I was telling you some of the stuff that I hadn't told publicly. I think that's a great example of it. I'm like, well, I'm not ready to share that yet.
Right. Right. And it's weird how you do feel you don't feel ready, and then you do feel ready, and I don't know what it is, but you just decide one day, to put it out there.
I'm curious, and if this is too far, like you guys aren't ready to share this yet, you let me know. But since 2011, and with the change of the diagnosis and some of the progression, and then Jen moving into like a full-time role, and just everything that's been happening for you, you guys are in really two different places since before when you got married. When you originally got married, I think you've been married 22 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm curious, like, how has this changed your relationship to what it was previously to what it is today?
It has made it way stronger, but it also is hard to, I mean, you're doing things that with each other that you never thought you would do, like just things that a lot of things.
Right, I still have a big old smile.
You know what I mean? But so that takes a good bit of the romance out, you know? So we also work a little harder. We, we'll email each other, or, we just try to spend time watching TV and not making sure we be together. Because we have a tendency we're very focused. We want to do things and work and be productive. And the whole day will go by and we haven't really spent any time together. So, but when you're, you're going to lose someone, and death is in your face every day, you definitely appreciate that person so much more. But it's also not easy. It's not the most romantic thing to have to
Sure.
do.
Do you feel like there's, for anybody else that's maybe facing this, like a husband or wife or partners or something like this, is there any sort of advice you'd give a couple that's going through something that's facing a challenge together?
That's a really good question. Do you have advice? You're going to have to laugh. It's going to get ugly, and it's going to get sad and terrible, and just find the humor in it every day. I mean, even when we're in the dirtiest, ugliest parts of what we have to do, you'll still laugh about it, I mean, what else can you do? Just find the joy and get help. Take help. I have the hardest time asking for help from people, and they beg me, like, what can I do? And, oh, I got it. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind today, but just, I would say, take help from people. People want to help you. Just take the help.
What about through all of this? Because one of the things that, I talk about online a lot, and I do this in the show as well, is really about being who you are, being true to yourself, saying, celebrate what makes you different and unique. Has that been possible for the both of you to still kind of be who you really want to be, even with, things that have happened out of your control? Or is there ways to do that?
I feel like Brian has stayed himself. He's very, very funny. He's always positive. He's smiling. I feel like I've changed. I don't have the patience that I used to. I'm very angry, to be honest. I'm so just kind of inside bitter angry. Like, I don't try to ask why, but I think that I don't think I'm as strong as or as patient as I wish I could be every day, you know? I don't feel like I was this angry before, to be honest.
Yep. And I was like, that fits right into the being vulnerable. I mean, it's just truth, right? Like,
Right.
sometimes like life is crappy and you are allowed to actually be angry at it. That's okay.
I just feel like, we've been so generous in our lives and such good friends to people. And, we've done good, done the right things. And like, really? Like, this is how, like we have to deal with it. So I'm sure everybody feels like that all the time, a lot.
Yeah. It's maybe circumstantial. Like we feel that way for different reasons, but like I even resonate with some of that. Like things happen. I'm like, really today,
Right.
Satan? Okay. Come on. Right. It just feels like something like I don't know. It's like a bad Hollywood movie.
But I have gotten better I have gotten better about trying to find that silver lining. Like there's something about this thing that's pissing me off today that's going to be okay and make me stronger or better. So
Yeah.
I'm really trying to do good with that.
Has social media helped at all? And I'm asking this just because like even like we've just connected through Instagram, and I'm just wondering like has that helped create like outlets for either one of you or both of you?
Are you typing something? Brian's typing something. I think it's good and bad. I think sometimes, it's good to connect with people in the same situation and we can talk. It makes me feel like the things that we're going through and the things that we have to deal with and our feelings are very valid and that we're not alone. Like I'm not crazy thinking these things. But also when you see people jetting off on their vacations or going to their concerts, just like everybody else every day, it's like, that comparison thing, what are we missing out on? But just to connect to real people in the same situation, 10, 20 years, we wouldn't have that ability. So I do like to talk to people in the same situation.
That's a positive and negative, actually, a little bit of both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was just maybe a few days ago, you guys had started a campaign. And so I wanted to kind of wrap up with actually a question of, is there a way for anybody that's watching or listening that we can actually help as you guys are on this journey?
Well, we do have a fundraiser going in May, and we have a friend, Chad, who Chad was in a band that Brian recorded like 20 years ago. Chad makes knives now. So he started a fundraiser for us 5 years ago. So we do it every May at the same time as ALS Awareness Month. So we do have a GoFundMe now. So it's gofundme.com/not-today-ALS. And then our Etsy shop, if you want to buy something, that'd be great too. Brian's art is there. And like you said, mugs and other gifts and things. And that is strengthoflove.etsy.com. So either one of those ways would be great. And you can always donate to ALS research as well, straight to the cause.
Sure, of course. Well, I mean, yeah. So I was going to close this up with also saying that people should go to strengthoflove.org as well to start to read a little bit more about you, and they can find some links to ways to contact you as well. Is there anything else as we close up that you'd love to share or say?
Well, Brian said, just mention the raffle that when you do donate to GoFundMe, every $10 gets you a chance to win lots of prizes. We've got knives and hot sauce and all kinds of stuff. So.
Oh, you got me with hot sauce. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a hot sauce. I'm a junkie. I love spicy things.
Oh, we have a friend that makes it. It's so good. So good.
Okay.
No, I mean, I thank you for having us on and letting us, tell our story. And I encourage people to connect with each other, people that are going through the same thing and just turntables.
Oh, before I wrap up, I did see somebody write, they asked, hey, talk a bit about the bees. So because you and I chatted about it the other day, so let me just set that up. So both of you had started beekeeping, so I'll let you jump in at that point.
So one day, again, Brian, with his randomness, just emailed me and said, I think it would be cool to keep bees. And I'm like, okay, because I don't have enough going on. Like, this is me looking at my fake watch. Like, what time is it? So I said, okay, well, let me look into keeping bees. So I reached out to 2 people that I know that keep them. And one was a former coworker, and she told me about a book to read. So I started reading the book. And then she emailed me and said, I have all the stuff for you. We're going to get you started. And this is a gift of love from her to me and Brian. So when she came out to help us set up the bees, she told me that her father had ALS and that she wanted to do this in his honor and as a, gift of love for us. So that's how we got started. And, Brian will sit on the patio and just watch them. There's something about just pulling them out and being around thousands of bees. I don't know. It's cathartic. It's really cool. And we've both just been fascinated learning about their behavior. You just don't know what you don't know about bees, but it's so cool. So, and I'll post, I try to post like little live videos when I check the hive and things like that. So yeah, stay tuned.
I've been fascinated by it for sure. Like, I've never wanted to keep bees, but I mentioned this to you that I had actually interviewed a beekeeper a while ago, and then reading your blogs, I was like, I don't know, maybe one day I should do it now. Like, I'm just fascinated.
I think you should. I think everyone should. It's so cool.
Wait, let me look at my watch and say, wait, what kind of time do I have for that?
You don't have time. I don't know how you do everything that you do.
Maybe down the road. Well, Jen and Brian, I really appreciate you guys coming on and chatting through all this stuff. It's been wonderful to connect with both of you just over the last couple of years and getting to know you. And so let me close this up also by saying that, this show goes every 2 weeks, though I have been a little sporadic about it. But past episodes are also available on accidentalinformation.com, so you can see past episodes. And this one will be up there as well if you need to see it again. So thank you for both of you just coming on and sharing so openly.
Of course. Thanks for having us. Let me move this little. We appreciate it so very much. And thanks for all you do. I recommend everyone follow you and keep up with you because you're so positive and so amazing. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you guys. We'll talk soon, I'm sure. Okay. Bye.